So welcome back. Again, this is Dr. Cara Barker. And when you want to reach me, the best way to do that is through my interactive blog. So if you will get on the internet and input carabarker.net, there's a whole host of possibilities for you there, and I'd be delighted to hear from you. I'm always listening, and I would love to get back in touch with you with your particular concerns and questions and comments. So that said, what we're doing here today is we're looking at some faces of people who have come with particular situations. So we begin with the Who, and this is supposed to a group, and the Who in this case is a man by the name of Barry. Now I'm calling him Barry, you understand, because of privileged communication, but there are many men and women like Barry who have come for work over the years, and they present in a very particular way that really touches my heart, because my tribe are the achievers and the producers of the world, the people who really have been good little citizens, who have done their best, who have set their goals and stayed on it, and been contributory in that way. But they end up at a particular junction in life. The age different for everybody. Everybody's story is unique. But they end up at a place where they too feel a need to come home to what touches their heart and the soul of who they are. Well, Barry came to me some years ago. He was a top exec of one of the Fortune 500 companies. When he came in, he had an injured arm. His right arm was injured. And he also was referred to me not only by his physician, this was unusual, but by the executive team of his corporation, because something seemed off and nobody knew exactly what it was. So they wanted me to consult with him and see what we could do. So here we had a man who was 58 years old, very successful, not a six-figure income, a seven-figure income. So in terms of the world of agreement, Barry had all the bells and whistles. He had the degrees. He had the Alumni Association. He was hooked up with who's who internationally. He had the things of wealth, of outer wealth, meaning he had the country club, and he had the fancy cars, and he had the mansion, and he had a long-term marriage. He had children, a new grandbaby. So he had lots of the stuff. But when he came in to see me, the truth of the matter is he was almost whispering. And he was down. You could tell he was down. And I said, tell me what's going on with you. And this is, I'm mentioning this because I hear this so often, what he said. He said, I don't know. Something just feels off. I don't know what it is. It just feels off. So I said to him, let me ask you a question. What's the last dream you remember? Now, as a good Jungian, we pay attention to dreams because dreams do not lie. It's true. It takes a bit of work and a lot of background to decode the things. Not that they're trying to trick us. They aren't. And I mentioned that when I was telling you about Consuelo. But dreams are very indicative of where life is wanting to go, if you know how to decode them, or you know somebody who can guide you through that labyrinth, because it is a labyrinth. And in his case, he said he was on a field, and he was on a field at night, and there were those bright, shining lights, you know, that are on the field at night, like for a baseball game or a football game, something of that sort. And he said there were many thousands of people in the stands, and they were all sitting there. And I said, what were you doing in the dream? He said, I was standing in the middle of the field. I was just standing there. And I said, anything else that you think of? He said, well, it was just one little thing. He said, it doesn't really matter. I said, what? He said, well, it was my body, how my body was. I said, well, how was your body, Barry? He said, well, I was standing there and I was kind of looking down. He said, I had one hand on the other arm. I said, which? Well, I don't remember. I said, try to remember. Well, it was my left hand on my right arm. And when he said that, something lit up. He said, oh, that's where my arm has been hurting. I said, interesting. So tell me about you in the football field. He said, oh, well, that was a long time ago. But he had a little shift. You know, have you ever noticed that the eyes really are the mirror to the soul? His eyes shifted, and something that looked like it had been on very low flame for a long time, something, I could just feel that something starting to light up. I said, what's that memory? He said, well, a long time ago, I was a quarterback on the college team. And I said, what was that like to be a quarterback? And he just lit up. He said, that was the happiest time in my whole life. I just loved it. I loved going for the 90-yard pass. I just loved it. I said, what did you like about it? He said, I loved it. I loved being part of the team. I liked going beyond what anybody felt was possible. He said, okay, all right, I like the applause. I love that. I like to be the star. He said it was a good time. I was with my buddies. He said it was like there weren't big worries. The biggest worry was were we going to win the game, but he said, but it wasn't really a worry because we were all, you know, it's like we had our sleeves rolled up and we were out there, man. We were on the sod. He said, I even liked the working out. I just loved it. I liked being messy and dirty and being in the mud. I even liked the tackles. He said, I was a little crazy, but I did like it. I said, what'd you like about it? He said, I like the contact. I like the contact. And his face completely changed. I said, so you're not getting much contact in the boardroom these days? He said, no. I miss being a quarterback. I just miss being a quarterback. It was actually hard to hear him when he said that. Again, it was more like a whisper because it had touched a sacred part in his soul, in the very core of who Barry is. So the process in working with him was very much, let me grab a paper here because it's just easier for me with drawings. So my grandfather Matthias from Finland was a miner, and he would go down every day, down this ladder kind of thing, into the mines. He would go down there, and his job and his buddy's job was to look for the treasure, in this case coal. That's what they were doing, and it was in the dark. It was absolutely in the dark. This is before electricity down in the mines, so they were using lamps, and they're like blind down there, and they're shouting up to the guy above ground, you know, what they're finding and what they need, what equipment and so forth, right? Well, this is a true story in my family, but it's a metaphor for me of this kind of work, of coming home to yourself. We can stay on the surface of things. We can stay above ground like that. Like I told you with Consuelo, we can keep the net cast on the side of the boat where nothing is coming in. Or we can shift things up where all the fish are waiting, where all the good is waiting, the greater good for your life, the greater good for Barry's life and for my life. But that good is down here in the depths, be it a mine, or be it a cave, or be it the ocean. It's way down deep there. So what is down there that is missing in our everyday lives? What's down there, what lives down there, is something Carl Jung has called the 2-million-year-old man. And that is that source of wisdom, that part of knowing that it's there, but it's in the deep and it's half asleep because we're sleepwalking through our lives. And like Barry, we're in these various meetings and we're doing these pedestrian activities that we need to do to get the check, right? But we feel cut off from that something that's so life-renewing, that's way down in the depths. So his process was really a matter of going down into these depths, finding out what was hidden there, what was trying to help him. And by the way, P.S., what happens in our body, the symptoms, the sensations that we have in the body, is all part of the same.